Application of Gauss law. So let's start with an easy one. Imagine we have a infinitely long charged wire. It is carrying charge all along its length, left hand side, right hand side, everywhere. So we are interested to determine what is the electric field due to this charge, due to this infinitely long charge wire, at a point P here, let's say. So what we are interested to do, to determine the electric field due to infinitely infinite linear charge distribution, due to infinitely charged infinite linear charge distribution. So how will you do it? This can be done by using integration, indefinite integral or definite integral, by using continuous charge distribution method and then determine it. But with the help of Gauss law, this thing gets very easy to determine. We can easily do it. How? As you can see, Gauss law says that the electric field, that is the flux through any closed surface, is equal to the 1 by epsilon times the net charge enclosed by that closed surface. So why don't we do like this? We will try to, so our interest is to find an electric field at this point. In order to do that, we will draw a Gaussian surface. The base Gaussian surface which is going to enclose this whole thing will be a cylinder. So if we draw a cylinder such that the observation point P lies on this cylinder, then what will I see? So these become my closed surface. Imagine this cylinder is going from infinitely long. It is going to whatever length I wish to send. So this is a cylinder, an imaginary Gaussian surface of length L. We draw around this charged wire. Let lambda is the uniform linear charge density, lambda. So then, in order to solve this, what are we going to do? As you can see, this Gaussian surface is made up of three small surfaces. This is surface 1, this is surface 2, and there is one more surface, the two caps. So this is surface 3. So how can we do it? So if we can find out how many total number of electric field lines are coming out through this surface, if we know this, you can easily find out the charge. So how to do that? You do imagine. So this is the direction of electric field lines which is coming out directly like this. And in this case also, the electric field lines is going out like this way. Here also the electric field lines is going out like this. Now the area vector, these three surfaces, how are they? So if I take the area vector here, as you can see, let's say this is the small imaginary area vector I have here, one area vector here, small unit area here, similarly one uniform area here. So if I draw the normals now, normals of these vectors are this way. Normal for this vector is this side, and for this one is also will be along right hand side, correct? So these are my electric fields these are the electric fields. As the for a positive charge, the electric fields are radially outward. So here is electric field, here is electric field, and this is the surface vectors. Here is the surface vectors, surface area vectors. Now, if I do the closed integral of this total flux, so how can I do it? So what is this actually? So we consider an infinitely long charged, maybe a wire, charged wire of linear charge density lambda. We wish to determine electric field due to this charged wire at a certain point P. So how will you do it? Say at R. So this is the distance R. This point is at a distance R from here. Okay. So in order to do so, we draw an imaginary closed surface in the form of a cylinder. Okay, to determine the flux enclosed by this surface. So let L be the length of this cylinder. Then what you can write? Then you can say, so closed integral. So total flux would be closed integral. I can see there are three surfaces: surface 1, surface 2, and surface 3. So closed integral of surface 1, it would be E dot ds plus closed integral of surface 2 plus closed integral of surface 3. So if I do this, what do you see? The angle between E vector and ds vector in this case is 90 degree for the first surface. For the second surface it is 0. For the third surface again it is 90 degree. That means I can write this closed integral 1 E ds cos 0 degree plus closed integral E ds cos of 90 plus, sorry, this is 0. What I am doing? This should be E ds cos of 90 plus closed integral. Why they are closed integral? You see all the surfaces are closed curve. This is a closed circle. That's why it's a closed curve. Okay. So we are giving this circle. The integration with this circle in the middle is called the closed curve integration. Just a special way of denoting it. So next one would be E ds cos 0 degree plus closed integral E ds cos of 90 degree. Therefore I should get here cos 90, this is 0, this is 0. I am left with only this one. So I get here closed integral E ds, or this can be written as E into ds. So if you do, what you are going to get? If you add all these ds if you add, you are going to get the lateral surface of the cylinder. So lateral surface of the cylinder is nothing but E into 2 pi r into L, where r is the radius, where r will be the radius of the cylinder. Therefore, now this is my phi. Now using Gauss law, what we can say? Using Gauss law, we can say that phi is equal to Q by epsilon naught. Now E into 2 pi RL gives me Q by epsilon naught. Therefore, using this I can say electric field would be 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught, 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught Q by L, 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught Q by L into 1 by R. But what is Q by L? We know lambda equal to charge per unit length. Therefore, E would be written as 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught lambda by R. So you see, now we only depends on the linear charge density of the wire. Correct? Now 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught. This equation can also be written like this. We can write this equation as like this also, by multiplying it by 2. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 2 lambda by R. So E is equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 2 lambda by. What about the vector? The vector, as you can see, it is in the which direction? So this is the I cap, in this case this is the j cap. So electric field in vector notation I can write this as j cap notation. Now one interesting thing you see, although we started up to infinity on the both side, the final expression, it depends only on the linear charge density. So the length of this cylinder is irrespective here, because the electric field at that point P only depends on the charge distribution. It do not depends on how long is the wire. If you know the charge distribution, you can easily determine it. So whether it's in the infinitely long or short or small, no problem. It only depends on the lambda by 1. What I mean to say is that if you see, let's say I give you a question here. This is an infinitely long wire and this is only 10 centimeter or 5 centimeter wire. In this case, the electric field lambda is equal to 4, let's say just a number I'm saying 4 coulomb per meter, and here also lambda is equal to 4 coulomb per meter. This wire is 10 centimeter long and this is infinitely long. And I ask you, what is the electric field at this point P, to let's say at 1 meter from here. For this one also I am asking you at 1 meter from here, what is the electric field at that point. You see, E would be equal to, in both the cases, would be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 2 into lambda by how much? 1. And what is lambda here? 9 into 10 to the power 9 into 2 into 4 by 1. So that means electric field will be 8. So this is, it do not depends on, so you can see electric field, this one in this case, it is independent of the length of the wire. It is independent of the length of the wire. And how is electric field varying? As you can see that electric field R inversely proportional to R. So E is inversely proportional to R. In case of a point charge, electric field due to point charge will be given as inversely proportional to R square. In this case, linear charge is electric field is inversely proportional to only R. So it varies. It is a simple rational function. It would be like this. Okay, this is how it is varying.